I watched your presentation at the Oxford Union. I've been invited to speak there this summer. You made a post after that. You said the experience of speaking at the Oxford Union last night was sobering. It had been packed with aggressive and closed-minded people, including the president, who invited us to speak on a warped motion and attempted at every stage to undermine us. The level of support for terrorist actions was chilling. And you went on to say that many Jews that were going to attend told you that they just feared being there. And I watched your entire speech, which was, I thought, very courageous. And I thought you were a study in patience and self-control, because they were baiting you at every turn, calling you every name in the book, and you didn't take the bait. You stayed on point, and I just wondered if you could opine on that experience in the face of such hatred, name-calling, and attacks from people that just seemed ignorant, that they're just uninformed. You seemed to stay calm in the face of it all. What was it like?
Well, firstly, thank you for your kind words about it. It was an extraordinary experience. I was a student myself as an undergraduate many years ago in Oxford University, and it wasn't exactly like that when I was there. But there were hints already, even back then, of anti-Semitism in that institution, the Oxford Union, the debating society, as I mentioned in that speech. And you know, I've been, as much as I was upset by what happened there and disgusted by that behavior, I've also been enormously reassured by the response that it's had from around the world, because the speech I gave, my response to that torrent of abuse that I got for 2-3 minutes solid, that literally drew the whole thing to a halt at one point, has been viewed by over 12 million people just on my Instagram account. It really struck a chord, and that number is going up literally every day. People saw what happened and were disgusted. And people also saw two sides of a debate, if you could call it that, about Israel. And one side went there to present their view, their analysis, their case based on facts and based on calm and rational discussion. And that's what I went there to do. So that is what I did, whatever they threw at me. And they really certainly threw as much as they could at me in terms of the verbal abuse and the screaming and disruption. But that's what I went to do. And I'm a great believer in discussion and debate, civil discourse. These are all important things. And I think that perhaps not so many people in the world do agree with me on that anymore, especially in university campuses. But it's therefore my job, your job, all of our jobs. And I hope if you do go to the Oxford Union and speak, you can drive this message home there yourself as well, both through your words and your example. If they see people who are willing to listen and discuss and debate respectfully and even disagree with one another respectfully, perhaps that will be an example for how to act and behave in the future. Perhaps I'm naive in thinking that, but I believe that that is one way we must do it. And I will say that I was not afraid of those people. I'm not afraid of bullies. And I'm not afraid of people who try to shout me down. The very thing that triggered off the main torrent of abuse in my speech was simply a section where I talked about facts, statistical facts about the amount of aid that had been going into the Gaza Strip during that difficult war period. That is what triggered it. So if facts were what triggered those people, we're really in trouble. But those people don't represent all of Oxford University. I don't think they even necessarily represent the whole of the Oxford Union membership. They represented a very specific group of people who I believe were handpicked to be in that room and positioned to cause as much trouble as they could. But either way, the world saw them for who they are. And I hope they saw me for who I am and the rest of my team in that debate. And slowly, all we can do is speak the truth, go out there, spread the message, make our case, try to persuade people. That's what I do in my work every day. And I sometimes reform my ideas myself, listening to others. And I think that's an important aspect of all of our lives as well, that we must keep open minds, we must discuss together in good faith, and honestly, based on fact and logic and morals and good ethics. And hopefully truth and light will win out if we can engage in that way. And part of that is to punish and with the full force of the law and justice, those who abuse the systems that we have in place in the West, those who abuse our very systems to attack us and work against us. That has to end, whether it's in a university debating society, in Oxford University or anywhere else, or whether it's at the highest level in governments or in police or in society at large. We have to stand up to it. So that's really what I hope is the message of the Oxford Union, but also of everything that any of us can do in our lives. We must lead by example.
Well, you're certainly a good example of leading by example. You certainly have a fan and a supporter in me, and I was very proud of the way you delivered the message, factually, empirically supported, and I thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I want to respect your time because I know you have something else that you have to get to. This has been enlightening as well as inspirational, so thank you. I look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully very soon, and I hope we can talk some more about this in the not too distant future.
With pleasure, and thanks so much for having me, and thanks for all that you do.
Well, thank you. We'll talk soon. So long.